Hello, folks, and welcome to After 9. I'm your host. My name is Brian Mulamba. We're in for a very, very thought-provoking show tonight because my guest is renowned for his works in the corporate world where he talks about public speaking and, of course, motivation. Now, I'll be asking him, among many other questions, what this country can do to transform the mindset of our people and make them realize that they can do more than they can imagine.
My name is Hakainde Hichilema. You're watching After 9 with Brian.
Mr. Kabani, welcome to After 9. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you've been well?
I've been okay.
Yeah, I've been seeing stuff on social media. And one of them is what we're talking about in the background. You were preaching, I think, at one of the events at Rusang University. And you said, in the family, there's always that useless person. Oh my God. It's good to have you on the show nonetheless. But I'm just wondering, how was this Kabani brand born? I know that you're in the pharmaceuticals, right?
Yeah.
And you've got this other career or sphere of life that is parallel from medicine, from Panados and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, how was this Kabani, brand born?
Okay. So the Kabani and DNK brand, I think, by the way, how especially the DNK brand started is very interesting. So when I was in university, I had this friend of mine, of course he's still there, I have this friend of mine, and his name is Dr. Katanekwa Njekwa. So he was my junior.
Okay.
I used to be invited to do a lot of speaking during the time that I was actually in university by the School of Medicine. Whenever there was a function, they would ask me to give a speech. I was not in the union, but somehow, it seems they identified that I could speak, and they would ask me to speak. So every time I would finish speaking, this young man, who is like a young brother to me, would come and summarize my 3 names, and he would go like, DNK, DNK. So every time it would go like, DNK, DNK. And I started, whenever I do a write-up on Facebook, I would sign off with my initials DNK. So that started growing because my writings around, somewhere around 2013, 14, 15, were heavily being shared, especially on social media, and people telling me write a book and all that. Later on, I wrote a book, launched my first book, which is Be Exceptional, in 2017. It was a successful launch. And I think that just laid out the whole brand. So people came to begin knowing about TNK, this young man who goes around preaching or speaking and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you speak positivity. Whenever you're addressing a public gathering, you of course, you preach hard work and everything. You indirectly, you motivate people.
Correct.
To begin to look at themselves in a different way, especially those that look down upon themselves.
Yes.
When you speak, they begin to think, wait a minute, maybe I can do what I've always wanted to do, despite me looking down upon myself. But my question about people like yourself is, what motivates you? What do you listen to for you to be? Because I know that you also need motivation, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah?
Every human being actually needs motivation. Apparently, all human behavior is out of motivation. If you are cooking, there's motivation to that. What's that? It's hunger. It motivates you to cook. If you are going to school, there's a motivation because there's a promise that you are going to have a good life. If you are marrying, it's with the motivation that you probably have kids. So remove motivation, then you cripple down human conduct and behavior. Everything we do is motivated. Including basic things like dressing. There's a motivation to that. How you perceive, people are going to perceive you, the good feeling that would come if people think you are looking good. So everything we do is about motivation. But beyond the basic things of motivating somebody to eat, to dress up, to go for work, human beings have been created with great potential, which I strongly believe in. One of the things that has helped shape my views about motivating people is probably understanding the human body. My specialization at postgraduate level is in human anatomy. So I have studied the body in terms of functionality and makeup. And I know even at a physical level how much the human body is able to do. I've spent some time studying the human brain, which we call neuroanatomy, and knowing what the human brain is capable of doing. I always feel bad to pass across and meet people where I can clearly realize this person is using less than 5% of their brain power.
Is there anybody who uses 100% of their brain power?
Well, there is none. Of course, research is not empirical on that, so we may not be able to measure brain activity. But there are certain studies that have been done, for example, to establish human memory. Okay? If we converted your memory capacity into a flash disk, it will be a flash disk bigger than the size of Findeco. Question, how much information can be stored in there? So when you come back and you have failed history, should we accept that you are unable to learn and pass history? No. When you come back and you have failed biology, maybe what has caused you to fail could be either you were playful. Another option might not be that you were playful. There are people who would say, I was studying very hard, but I ended up failing. It might be that you have not learned the art of how to store information in the brain. Or you have learned how to store, but you have not learned how to retrieve the information that has been stored. If you can be taught these basics, you would be shocked that every person is a genius.
Says.
You'd be shocked every person is a genius.
Yeah. I can retrieve anything else, but not those elements.
So, for us now, motivation, those of us who speak to people to motivate them.
Yeah.
For example, personally, I think one of the things that helped me is I was introduced to reading at a very young age. My parents enrolled me in the library right in grade 1. The very first day I registered for grade 1, I registered into the library. And I've been a member of the library since then up to now. So we read widely, and what reading does, as a family, we read widely, but what reading does is this. It introduces you to worlds that are beyond your immediate world. Okay. It is possible for you to read literature about the US and know so much about US than a person who is staying in the US. Yeah. I'll tell you that I've interacted with people outside Zambia who are non-Zambian, who know so much about Zambia than an average Zambian. A few months ago, we had a delegation that came from the US on a partnership on one of the projects that we run as a company. A number of them, probably around 15. When they came in, we started asking them what they love about Zambia. You would be shocked with the information they were bringing out. Yeah. Sites and places which an average Zambian youth will not know about. How have they acquired that information? They have been reading. So reading exposes you to the outside world, but also reading introduces a man to himself. The more you read, the more you realize what you are capable of. Why? Sometimes reading introduces you to people that have gone through the exact circumstances of life that you have gone through, which to you might be standing as a stumbling block and convincing you that you are a victim of life. For example, here is a person who is a cripple. And they say, well, why I'm not doing much in life is because I am disabled. I am paralyzed. Then through reading, they come to be introduced to a man who is called Steve Hawkins. Steve Hawkins was a leading physicist, occupying the position that Isaac Newton used to occupy. Yeah. And yet he was paralyzed from neck to the legs. You say, this person, I'm disabled, so I can't vie for politics. Then we introduce, through reading, you come across the works of Roosevelt and realize this was a person who was disabled in a wheelchair, leading not a third world country, leading America, which is the world superpower number 1. You say, I'm deaf, I can't do much. You come across a classical composer like Beethoven, who composed music that is classical to this day, and yet he was deaf. How he was hearing the music and playing the piano, nobody knows. You say, I can't be a teacher, I'm disabled, I can't see, I can't what. We introduce you to Helen Keller. Helen Keller Foundation up to this day sends thousands of young people into school. Helen Keller was blind, she was dumb, she was deaf. She could hear you by simply getting a hand, placing on your jaw as you are speaking. She gets what you're saying. In the world of music, there's a woman called Fanny J. Crosby. She is arguably the greatest hymnology of the 19th century. She composed and wrote over 3,000 hymns. You'll have such songs as Blessed Assurance, the classical hymns. Yeah. Okay? All the way my Savior leads me. These are classical hymns. they were all written by Fanny J. Crosby, who was a blind woman. Now, when you get to read, and reading introduces you to such people, you then realize, irrespective of your circumstance, there's so much potential in you that you can actually be able to actualize your dreams. But if you are not reading, what that does is that you are cocooned to your own little space, probably with people who also are short-sighted, who are laughing either at your background of poverty and thinking you can't do much, at your tribe that you can't do much, at your physical circumstance that you can't do much. So for me, I motivate myself through reading.
All right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But are there times when you felt low? You felt like because of your station in life at that particular time that you could not excel?
Yes.
And how did you take yourself out of that feeling?
Yes, there are many times. You know, the feeling of failure is akin to every person, especially those that aim high. Those that fail less are those that aim low. The higher you aim, the higher the chances of failure, because the higher your ambition, the higher the risk of failing. It means you are trying to pull off feats that have not been done before. But then again, for me, how do I encourage myself in failure? By the way, Richard Nixon once said that, you know, a man is not finished when he fails, he's finished when he quits. And I think there's another interesting quote that says, try and fail, but don't fail to try. We have heard of the classical stories of many people. Let's begin with far away distant stories of such people as Thomas Edison, you know, and the light bulb and how many times he failed, the Wright brothers, how many times they failed. But today we have the aviation industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which started not with engineers. These two brothers, the Wright brothers, were bicycle repairers. They're the people that have given us the aeroplane. We're going to read of right now, if you look at diseases, we have been saved by antibiotics, discovered by Alexander Fleming, who was doing so much work and failing until by accident he discovered penicillin.
Yeah.
So you can fail, but then I encourage myself through reading. I read the biographies. I've read quite a lot of biographies of many people, and I've come to realize every great person failed not less than once, over and over, but they learned the art of tenacity, dusting yourself and coming back. The Bible also has this. It says the righteous man fails 7 times and 7 times he rises. It is in the rising, not in the failing. And anytime you're going to meet a person who claims to be great and has got no record of failure, you have met a masquerade.
Have you ever failed?
Several times.
No,
and on many things.
Would you care to share with us one
A good example is what I highlight in my book, Be Irresistible, which is chapter number 1. I write about my business story there. In 2013, I started a building material business, and I invested 150,000 kwacha in that business. By that time, that was a lot of money.
150,000.
150,000 kwacha. And it was some good money at the time.
Even now, it is some good money.
Yes. I used to buy cement from Chilanga, Lafarge, 700 pockets truckload, and I would transport it back home to Senanga. Then I was paying about 15,000 kwacha on transport. That's the business I was doing. In exactly less than 2 years, that business had run down to only remaining with the 5,000 kwacha in the account. And I had to call the people back home. I said, send that 5,000 kwacha so that at least I can see how it is finishing. They sent the money. I went to Manda Hill, enjoyed myself, and forgot about business. But you see...
Why did you fail, though?
One of the reasons why I think I failed was, number one, I knew very little about business.
All right.
Number two, I had not established systems in the business. And yet I was running it remotely. You can't run a business remotely that does not have systems. It is the best way to throw your money down the drain. So I think those are the things. There was not much financial accountability even on my side. No systems to observe what is happening. So the remote running without systems is what ran the business down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thereafter, did you ever get into business? I wonder.
Yes. So you see,
the next one worked out.
And you see, the pain of that was that 150,000 kwacha I had invested in that business was a loan.
So you had to pay.
So I had to pay the money.
Oh God.
Yes. And that is why you would come to a conclusion then. Business does not run on money, it runs on knowledge. And he that is not willing to get knowledge before they begin business, they will pay with their money as tuition fees to acquire the necessary knowledge to run a business. So for me, my tuition fee was 150,000 kwacha. And I tell people, if you have some little money, go and attend a seminar and learn. Or find a mentor and learn from that mentor. Did I bounce back? Yes. That's why now we have the different DNK brands. We have DNK Brand and Publishers, which is a leading publishing, self-publishing brand here in Zambia. We have DNK General Consultancy, which is a leading consulting firm. We have done quite huge projects, even with the government.
So you paid back the loan?
That loan, I painfully paid it back. Every month, there was a deduction on my salary, going to where only heaven knows, because there was nothing on the ground. And I should mention that to those that would want to actually do business, that it's a lesson you get to learn, of course, as you become experienced in business. You don't get a loan to start a business. You get a loan to grow an already profitable business.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You know what's interesting is that many of us always think, look, I have this business idea, but I don't have the capital. So what I would do is go to a bank, put my house as collateral, get the loan, or go and get Kaloba.
That's suicide. And you know the mistake which SMEs and prospective entrepreneurs actually make. We call them intentional, in the classification of entrepreneurs, intentional entrepreneurs. The mistakes that they make is, even when they get that loan, they commit an asset of a value way higher than the loan they're getting. So you are going to the bank to get a 60,000 and you commit your house, which at value is at 700,000. So if your business fails, maybe let me give this picture for people to understand the dynamics of business. There's a study I continuously refer to, which was done by Professor Chikunta somewhere around 2013. He was the presidential advisor on economics and such things.
Great man, I remember. Speaking to him on his death was quite painful.
Now, there is a survey that he was the principal investigator here in Zambia, which is called the General Entrepreneurship Monitor. It is a very big survey. It is sponsored by the government of Canada. And they sample out countries and check on entrepreneurial activity across these countries. Now, there are very interesting findings in there. For a business to be considered as an established business, it should have clocked not less than 3.5 years in business. Anything below that is not an established business.
All right.
What are the statistics? In Zambia, of all businesses that are started, of all 100 businesses that are started, only 4 will cross the 3.5 years mark.
Out of 100?
Out of 100.
Only 4?
Yes,
like
at 4%.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4 will cross the 100 mark. So if you go on the entrepreneurial playing field right now, there is bleeding. You'll find many people that are dead and scarred, right? Now that's one danger. The second danger is that it was established that in terms of entrepreneurial activity, people getting in business and trying to sell something, Zambia is leading. Now the average of sub-Saharan Africa is at 26%, and Zambia was in excess of 40%, which made Zambia the most entrepreneurial country in sub-Saharan Africa. There are more people by ratio in Zambia that can get into business and start business than in Nigeria, than in Ghana, or any other country that you may pick. And yet Zambia is leading in business failure across the whole of Africa. And when they also assessed another parameter, which is to look at the fear of getting into business, they realized that we were among the leading countries in terms of boldness, of people saying, I'm ready to start a business. Every Zambian only feels that the only thing missing is capital. No, that's not the case. One of the things the study established is that what was missing is entrepreneurial skills. Entrepreneurial skills are such skills as financial management skills. It is such skills as selling and marketing. Now, you have people that don't know how to sell. You have people that can't measure their profitability in a business. You have people that have not done a market research, and they just dive in. How do we get in business in Zambia? Somebody will tell you that broilers, you can't go wrong. Now, the person who is telling you broilers, you can't go wrong, has never raised a chicken. And another person will tell you, tomato. You can't go wrong. Do you have tomatoes at home? No. How do you know? No, I have an uncle who used to do tomato. So you go and get a loan based on rumors.
Yeah.
Our friends, you see, on our consulting firm that we run, one of the things that we do is business development. And one of the things we do in business development are what are called feasibility studies. Investors, big investors, nobody comes in Zambia to open a mine because somebody said mining, you can't go wrong. Nobody comes here in Zambia to put a huge investment, a hospital, because they've said, hospital, you can't go wrong. They do what is called a feasibility study. Engage experts that are going to do a market research, check on the competition and everything. They will pay for that. After they have been advised that this is a viable and feasible venture, then they will invest. So people go and get a loan. And what they also don't realize is this. Interest rates are very high, unfortunately, across Africa, including Zambia. If you're going to go to the loan sharks, the Kalova people, interest rates there are as high as 50%, which you begin paying the very month that you have gotten the money. The curve of a business is, when you open a business today, on average here in Zambia, it takes 3 years for a business to break even. So you will not get into profitability in less than 3 years. Now you get a loan that you are beginning to pay this month for a business that will become profitable 4 years later. Where is the wisdom? That's why people run their businesses down, remain in debt, and in the end, their assets are disposed of by the people they owe. So don't get a loan to begin a business. There's no wisdom in that.
I'm just thinking now, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. If you're discouraging people from getting a loan because of business, what about those who get loans to marry, to have a wedding?
Now, if I was putting the levels of wisdom, and we're saying those who are getting a loan for business are here, those who are getting a loan for a wedding are here, there's absolutely no wisdom in that.
All right.
A wedding is not an investment. A marriage is an investment. Because a marriage unites you with another person. You can leverage on each other's abilities, qualifications, networks. Actually, research over and over has shown that people that marry tend to do better than people that are single. So marriage is an advantage, whether in business or anything, okay? Because you are able to leverage and synergize. So it's a good thing.
All right.
Marriage is not a wedding. A wedding is an event and a celebration. So to get your money and push into a wedding, especially a loan, and that circle, I've seen it. I'll tell you the classical case of where that circle happens. It's the school that I graduated from, which was years ago, which is the School of Medicine. When you graduate from the School of Medicine, by nature of the courses that are trained there, you are either a doctor or a pharmacist, a physiotherapist. These are guys that are considered the elite of society. So there is always a pressure to live up to what society expects of you. So here's a young man who immediately graduates. He can't board a bus because on a bus people say, doc, pharmacist. So what does he do? He needs a car. And their cars he has already excluded. Vitz out, Fan Cargo out, Corolla out, okay, Paso out. What his basic car he's looking at is actually a luxury car, high performance car with high consumption. It's a common mistake. I made that also. Immediately I started work, the first car I bought was a BMW. And I was converting money to smoke. So these young people immediately will get those cars, Mercedes-Benz, cars which they can't even service from the right service centers. So in the end, you're going to find the Mercedes-Benz being serviced in some funny garage somewhere. Because this person can't afford to take it to Pilatus, right? Now, while you are servicing a loan of that car, your relatives begin asking you, doc, Mr. Pharmacist, hey, Mr. Physiotherapist, when are the bells ringing? Under that social pressure, the next thing is to marry. But definitely there are venues where the wedding of a lawyer cannot happen. There are venues where the wedding of an accountant can't happen. So the next thing, you go and get a loan to go and put up a show to impress people that you can't impress, who will not be impressed anyway. And the next thing is you're piling a loan on another loan. This is how people have ended up in a space where you find a person with a very good job who every month gets a 500 kwacha or a 1,000 kwacha. That trap continues because after the wedding, children arrive and there's a school where the children of the economist or the accountant cannot go. And yet we, that are changing society, are products of the public schools, where a teacher could go on maternity leave for 3 months and you're not learning. But today we are fine. But then you're going to find that then you get these people, they'll go to schools they can't afford again, take their children. It becomes a vicious circle of a form of life that has no substance to it, and which is building, you know, castles of sand. One of the days, it crumbles on everything. The same marriages. So, you know, I was watching, I think it's a little clip for Judge Judy. Yes. Where she gave a statement that really caught my mind. She said, the expenditure of a wedding, I'm paraphrasing, is inversely proportional to the duration of the marriage. In other words, the bigger the expenditure of the wedding, it has often been seen, the shorter the length of the marriage. It is the financial problems and strain that will come from the wedding that will separate the couple.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of sensitizing our people with regards to financial issues, just financial discipline.
Yes. And that is why this should begin very young. In primary schools, in secondary schools. And I'll tell you, this is why we are even having the National Education Expo that is coming up. And we are talking about such issues at the National Education Expo. And we are advocating for educational reforms that begin to look at how do we tell our education to respond to 2024, to existing in 2024.
Yeah.
Because look at this. I did a good schooling for myself. Went through primary school, went to university, graduated from university. Let's say the day I graduated from the University of Zambia and stood there. How much did I know about managing money? Nothing. I had all the science in my head. How to manage money, did I learn anything from school? No. How to keep money? No. How to multiply money? No. How to find money? No. So an average graduate of our systems, if he does not also engage himself to informally inform himself, that person is very informed in their discipline, but very uninformed where issues of wealth creation, financial management and discipline is involved.
Yeah, which reminds me, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, I think 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me, look, we're talking about the education curriculum and everything.
Yes.
He says, it baffles me how, as a country, we have made agricultural science an option, but we've made English compulsory. So we've got people who speak very good English, very good accents, but are poor.
That's true. And you know, we have glorified things that should not be glorified, such as how eloquent you speak English. So in the end, you have people that are working very hard to have an accent than to have assets. I was invited to NRDC to speak to the students just a few weeks ago. And, you know, I think God gave me a privilege and a blessing to attend NRDC before I went to UNZA. So I was at NRDC for 6 months because the UNZA results came late.
Yeah.
Then UNZA results came and I was admitted in the School of Natural Sciences. So I left NRDC and went.
Yeah.
But the little 6 months I had at NRDC, I learned so much. That institution should be one of the powerhouses of our economy. National Resources Development College. If our education can focus at developing our resources, teaching people how to convert timber into finished furniture, how to convert copper. Can you imagine, Mr. Brian, you and me, how much do we know about copper? Maybe you do. I know literally nothing about copper. The only thing I know about copper is copper belt. Today, if I brought copper here, can you identify it?
So I was privileged to go to, you know, when the Sensele tragedy. So I went to cover that particular, you know, period, that very, very sad, you know, story, so to speak. And I was amazed. I know that, you know, those fanatics of education will be very, very opposing to what I'm going to say. I found a young boy, I think he was aged 14 or 15.
Yes.
Being one of those small-scale miners who are called, you know, illegal miners by other people. Everyone rushed to saying, how can a young boy be doing this? But when I was told how much money those guys make, I paused and said, wait a minute, this boy, by the time he's 20 years old, there's a chance he's going to be a tycoon. And that's not to say all the kids must go into that direction. But the rationale behind that, exposing young people to making their hands dirty, is what caught my attention.
You know, making our education relevant. The example you're giving is actually a very good example of what should happen, exposure. So we have one project that we are doing in collaboration with certain US-based institutions. My wife was in the US the first half of this year, and she attended one expo where she came and told me to say, this is an expo where companies come and meet graduates that have graduated from university but are doing nothing, to give them just opportunities of internship, unpaid internship. But what does that do? It creates skills in them, exposure in them. I was talking about the case of NRDC. I think our founding fathers were very visionary. You know that NRDC was opened 3 days after our independence. 24th of October, we get independence. 3 days later, President Kaunda goes and opens NRDC. I should think it is the very first institution that he opened, focusing on national resources development. If we learned how to convert the money that is in the soil in terms of agriculture, you go to NRDC. When I got my acceptance letter at NRDC, it had a very funny caption down. It said, if you can't do manual labor, please don't accept this offer. And I thought it was a joke, because in the acceptance letter they said, you come with a hoe, you come with a slasher, you come with a rake and gumboots and an oven. I arrived there. At NRDC, we did 2 weeks of academic work, 1 week of manual work called farm routine. Every month, 2 weeks academic work, one week of manual labor. By the time I was leaving NRDC, I knew how to raise chickens, how to raise goats, how to take care of cattle in 6 months, because farm routine was also taken as a course. So you'd be given 10 lines of maize to weed and take care of, 4 lines of leek, lines of cabbage, line of banana to take care of. If they come and find your cabbages are dying, you are failing that, and next year you repeat just one course, doing farm routine from morning to evening every day. So by the time you leave that institution, you are a person who is informed in the cognitive space. You are knowledgeable, the science you have learned, but you are a person who can be productive. Economies are not run by white-collar jobs. Economies are run by blue-collar jobs. I like the books I was looking at him. There are other books that people, even our viewers, may want to read. There's an interesting book by Thabo Mbeki, which is Architects of Poverty. Yes, there's another book by Wangari Maathai, I think, that talks about the case of Africa and everything like that. And Why Nations Fail, another book, good book. If you look at all these people, they agree on certain things. When you come to look at how these economies function, economies are built by blue-collar jobs. That's where productivity is. We must produce more people that can farm than more people that can speak English and theories of economics. We need one economist over 300 productive people. We don't need 300 economists and one person who is farming. Everybody is giving a theory of saying, no, the horse should be at 2 degrees to the ground and whatever else. No, it doesn't work. So we must emphasize skills. And that's why I love the review of the curriculum that was done by the government to put in skills and emphasize TVETA courses and all that. Let us glorify that.
But again, it's about glorifying that. I don't know, but I just feel that as Africans, we love to copy stuff. And sometimes we copy the wrong things. That's true. Or sometimes we copy the right things and implement them wrongly.
That's true.
Isn't it? Yeah. Because, I mean, if there are few parents, if there are any, who would tell their child to go to school and say, go to school, I want you to become a farmer. There are few parents who will do that.
That's very true. Parents, all of them are talking about the classical things. And do you know what? I would sound very radical, so sometimes I withhold myself from certain
please go ahead.
things.
Feel free.
That's a trap. You know, the glorified careers that we have glorified, I'll not mention them, but let me just say that careers that are glorified in Africa, all of them lead to an average life.
Right.
They lead to an average life. The very things that have not been glorified and are looked down upon, they are the ones that take people in the 2% of society that are extremely doing well. And we must begin to actually build a culture that glorifies productivity amongst our youths and everybody else. That typical story of everybody wanting to go and put on a suit and swing in a chair, it does not really work. Because even then, white-collar jobs are well-paying in economies that are working. And here is the thing. So there's a book I read, which is an interesting book. Two things. There's one you have talked about, how we just adopt things. Yes. Dr. Samuel Corentine Pimpim, in one of his write-ups articles, gives an interesting stories that he talks about monkey solutions. So very quickly says, one day monkeys are seated in a tree up. And as they are up in a tree, they observe a flood coming and fish jumping in and out of water. The monkeys agree and say, look, the fish are drowning. Let's go and rescue the fish. Monkeys jump out of the tree. They go and get the fish from the water, go and put them on the shore. 30 minutes later, the fish are all quiet. The monkeys in the tree say, look, we have rescued the fish. They are resting. They were tired. By the time they wake up, they'll thank us for the job well done. What was the reality of the case? The monkeys had killed the fish. They introduced a monkey solution to a fish problem. This is one of the challenges of Africa at large, where we just copy things without properly understanding the context to apply to our situation. So it is very important to look at how do we come up with indigenous solutions to our problems. The few people that want to go for the white-collar jobs, can we have more think tanks? Even the energy crisis that we're facing right now, I believe that mobilizing our engineers and the like, we should begin to get solutions. We should apply ourselves to come up with solutions. True education must be problem-based. In teaching methodology, there is a methodology that is called problem-based teaching, which is what certain leading universities in Europe have introduced. You report for school today, and they tell you that your syllabus is this one. They give you a chain of problems. They say, go and come up with solutions for these problems. If you have come up with solutions, you graduate to the following semester. So you go, you come up with solutions, you report, and they say, okay, pass next semester. Here are the problems. By the time you graduate, you are a person who is equipped with information, but who is also able to solve problems.
Yeah. And maybe that's why I always wonder why. Look, before independence, we had few educated people.
Yes.
You know, and now we've got an awful lot, a lot of people that are educated. And yet we just can't seem to find solutions to the problems that hit our country.
That's true.
It just baffles me. And now that you say this, it's confirmation that there's something wrong with our education.
We need reform. Education is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. Education is supposed to be a tool. It's not a meal. It's a pot in which you cook. So you must be able to do your cooking within the context of education. Now, we have pushed a narrative where people think what you can do is to parade your degrees and qualifications. Then you are educated. Education must produce tangible solutions. And if we understood this, one of the things that we could have emphasized in our education is research and development, R&D, which is lacking in most of our universities. Actually, I'm yet to come across a university in Zambia that has a very robust R&D department. The research that we do, our consulting firm is also involved in research. Much of the research we do is called traditional research. It's academic research. It's done as an academic exercise so that you graduate. What we need to find now is a link between the academic space and the industry. How do we link the manufacturers to the mechanical, to the School of Engineering at UNZA? so that the solutions that are coming at UNZA come out into tangible solutions on the ground.
Yeah.
How do we link the School of Pharmacy to the pharmaceutical companies? So that, can I give you an example of how our education is failing us?
Sure.
Outside most of our houses in Zambia, have you seen those little plants that give flowers that are either pink or white? Little pink or white.
Yeah.
That is called periwinkle. It is also called Jerusalem. That plant, its botanic name is Catharanthus roseus. That plant is where you get your medicine, two medicines, vincristine and vinblastine, which are medicines that are used to treat cancer. Very expensive medicine. You know that that plant grows naturally in Zambia? Nobody watering, you find them around. But we as African countries import vincristine and vinblastine from Europe and heavily pay for it. Yet we have pharmacy schools and medical schools. Our pharmacists and our doctors should have been thinking of, how do we extract vinblastine, vincristine? Do you know that coartem, one of the plants that actually gives rise to coartem, where you can actually get your coartem, grows also naturally in the plains of Western Province? And yet we import coartem. Yeah. And yet we have people that have gone in school for that. So this is what we should look at.
That's depressing.
Let's talk about
That's
mining.
very depressing.
Let's talk about mining.
Yeah.
The young people you're talking about, we have all classified them as illegal miners, isn't it? So, oh, illegal miners. I've always argued this way, and miners and mining engineers will forgive me, but I'm ready to engage on a robust debate with anybody that would be willing. We can't mine. Why can't we mine? We don't have equipment. What equipment was in Babylon in 605 BC when they were mining gold? There was no motor vehicle. They were mining gold in Babylon in 605 BC. That's over 6,000 years ago. My father is a historian. His master's dissertation and research was focusing on iron smelting in Western Province. And in his finding, Dad was able to establish that in Western Province, there are many sites where iron smelting was happening as way back as the 1900s and the 1800s. How do we get to a point where we convince ourselves that why we can't mine our own gold, our own diamonds, we need equipment that is in millions of dollars? That's not true. That is propaganda. And an African needs to liberate himself from such thinking. With the very primitive tools we should be able to create, if I was to suggest anything, cooperatives that can mine with their hand tools and whatever they do. And these now can amalgamate and bring the little they are mining this side, the little they are mining this side in cooperatives to supply to the big refineries, to refine what needs to be refined. It's a little suggestion.
Oh, listen, we have to end the conversation here. But we have to play a game.
Oh,
yeah. So there'll be raw eggs here. And then it's either answer the question or you consume the raw egg.
Or you take. And by the way, I've never taken a raw egg in my life. And I don't intend to begin today.
So in the raw egg, there is a protein they call.
My name is Hakainde Hichilema. You're watching After 9 with Brian.
Oh no no no. Nakulila musoni no wazai. Nobody. Ontandiza kunchosa mavuto. Nobody kwenzebe. So munilege ngondwele oh. Bangono chave. Munisi ngondwele oh. Bangono chave. Nakulila musoni no badai. Nobody. Ontandiza kunchosa mavuto. nobody, nobody. Away, away, mafuno konda. Away, away, ni mafuno konda. Susiga kwenye chokea, nakula na mabuto nebo. Mulamba nani dalisa, yeah, mafuno konda. Susiga kwenye pita nebo, mabuto na bula na yo. Mulamba nani dalisa, yeah, mafuno konda.
My name is Hakainde Hichilema. You're watching After 9 with Brian.
Yeah, those are the questions you'll be asking me.
Aha.
It's either I answer the question or I consume the raw
Or
egg.
you can show.
Yeah, so there's a cup for you as well.
I foresee you finishing that time. Am I allowed to modify the questions?
Yeah, of course you are. You can actually create
Okay.
your own questions from Jerusalem.
I already
Yeah.
love the questions.
You love the questions already.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to improvise or create your own.
I think let me pick the last one. It is quite interesting.
All right.
Good public speakers rank the following from best to worst.
Yeah.
Somebody's taking an egg. Rank the following from best to worst. A. Cornelius Mwetwa. B. Gary Nkombo. C. Emmanuel Mulamba. D. Mao Samba. E. Binwa Mpundu. Rank them from best to worst. Cornelius Mwetwa, Gary Nkombo, Emmanuel Mulamba, Mao Samba, Binwa Mpundu. But you can take this one.
Yeah.
Mr. Brian, I have faith in you. I have faith in you. And these are people you know very well.
Maybe I can try.
Yes.
Think of it. No.
The truth is the hardest thing to say.
Yeah. God. The truth will set you free, but the egg will also set you free.
No.
Oh, man.
This would have been one of the easiest. But I'm waiting for your shot. I hope I'm not taking an egg. It'll be the first time in my life.
Okay, that'd be nice, actually. So, rank the following from best to worst.
No.
All right.
We are not doing
I'll
this.
save that for later on. But I know that you know quite a great deal of our prominent motivation speakers in the country, right?
Uh-huh.
Which one do you find unrealistic?
Which one do you find unrealistic? Mr. Brian, is it that a trap? You know.
I know, just give me the name, boss.
Just give me the name.
Just shoot. Give me the name and
At some point, I actually used to think a good number of our speakers were unrealistic.
okay.
Until I started interacting with them
No.
and getting to see
Thank you very
actually
much.
what
I want the information. Just give me the name, boss. Or consume the raw egg. Yeah.
the most unrealistic.
Yeah.
I think it's myself.
Okay, that's mad.
I'll avoid the eggs at all costs.
I should have put a caveat. God. All right, shoot.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Here we go.
I'm not consuming that. To be honest.
Which female personality would you like to look at when you are speaking at a public place? As you're speaking, I think it is that thing where I've seen speakers where the speaker has measured in one direction because of somebody who is seated there to ensure they are getting the points. So which female personality would you look at when you are speaking at a public event?
Vaccina Hankanga.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I wish I could ask why.
Vaccina Hankanga. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you care to give a reason why?
There's no follow-up to the question.
Oh, there's no follow-up. Now let's get your shot. Let's get your shot.
Lists 3 female personalities who you would want to have as an audience.
3
Female
female
personalities.
personality. And that is open to the whole world.
Zambia.
Oh, okay.
Skip it.
Because I was running with
Yeah. You're going to bring Beyonce.
I was already running with Michelle Obama as one of the people. But if I bring it to Zambia, I think, hey, names are running in the head. Names are running in the head. One of them, unfortunately, is late now.
No, let's talk about those who are
Oh, the ones who are alive?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. From those that are alive?
Yeah. I can give you options.
Yeah, give me some options. Let's
Number 1, Mutale Mwanza. Number 2, number 2, Iris Kaingu. Number 3, Mampi. Number 4, Zavin. Number 5.
I think let me stick with when we have no options. In the original form of the question where there were no options, let's stick with that one. Yes. So I'll keep the question in its original form.
No, but
I'll pick.
you changed the question, so you must give me.
You said we can't modify
No,
this
but you
question.
asked me to modify them. So
No, let's stick with let's stick with the original question. So I'm going to pick Madam
all right.
Chibesakunda from MD Zanaco.
All right.
I'm also going to pick Madam Zingamelu.
All right.
Yes. And I think I may also pick Madam Bridget Kambove, Trade Kings.
Yeah.
Yes. You
These
said
are-
3, right?
Yeah, all these are pretty women. Huh?
They are powerful women.
Okay. Yeah, powerful and pretty.
Yeah, they're like, Joseph. The Bible says Joseph was handsome and hardworking. It's a double
Yeah.
combination. So I find them
See,
to be very
You should
inspirational.
not give that answer to your wife.
No, you see,
Because you see, women, this question is a trap.
the only
You see,
interesting
women,
thing.
when they ask a question, boss,
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
No, I've come to realize that
Yeah.
you can entangle
I'm
yourself.
telling you. So, listen, I want to thank you very much for coming through. But I know you've spoken at length on so many things.
Yes.
What's that one thing that Zambia should do? And when I say Zambia, that's from the top leadership
Okay.
to the lowest, I don't know if that even makes sense, the lowest ranked citizen in the country.
I think that's one of the most important questions I've ever received on any interview set. I do a lot of these interviews, but I think that's a question because it piques my mind now. I feel Zambia must invest in a human development program,
All right.
a national human development program. Any country that has succeeded, when you read about countries and their history and everything that has succeeded, they have had human development programs. China was lifted by Captain Mao.
Yeah.
There is even a little book written by Captain Mao that actually comprises his whole philosophy of how he brought China to what it is. America had a philosophy to reign on. One of them was just a simple saying that said, no free lunch. So Americans coming out of their independence and going forward grew up with a mindset not of entitlement. Any country where people feel entitled, where people sit and expect a government to feed them, that government, that country is headed for poverty. Every country has, for example, I'll mention this. Right now we have a national development plan. It is called the 8th National Development Plan, running from 2022 to 2026, covering different thematic areas of development. If you stepped out of ZNBC, how many Zambians know that we have a national development plan? And I'm not saying go and pick the uneducated, go for the cream of this country, pick the graduates, pick the managers, ask them, do you know about our 8th National Development Plan? An average Zambian does not. So a human development program, what are the areas that it should focus on? It should run through the schools, mindset change. Yeah. It should run through the churches, because not everybody goes to school, but over 90% of our population go to the churches. Engage the churches in that. And it should run on national television and all that. That's why on the 13th of October, we're having the National Education Expo. One of the things we are focusing on there is mindset change. How do we get everybody to be productive?
Excellent. Always a pleasure having you and sitting down to interact with you and share with you streams of consciousness that really are extremely sound, you know, and very timely. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you. I'm humbled. Your program is one of the programs that I think actually is changing the country.
Thank you very much.
You keep up with the great work. Thank you for the invitation. I'm humbled.
Thank you for coming.
Please.
All right. Excellent.